He was just a janitor, mopping the gym floor late at night, invisible to everyone until the trainer saw him. What started as mockery turned into humiliation when he was pushed into the ring, forced to fight for laughs. But in that single moment, the world flipped upside down. One punch. One shocking hit. And the man everyone ignored left the crowd in stunned silence. How could someone dismissed as just a janitor hold that kind of power? He was used to being invisible. Every night after the last fighter left, the black janitor stayed behind, pushing his mop across the sweat-stained mats of the MMA gym. His hands were calloused, not from training, but from years of hard labor that no one ever noticed. To most, he was just the man who cleaned up after others, the one people walked past without a second glance. But inside, he carried something more, a quiet strength, a life of resilience shaped by struggle. The gym was filled with echoes of punches, shouts of coaches, and laughter of fighters who never once asked his name. Still, he kept working, head down, grateful just to have a paycheck to keep the lights on at home. Yet, beneath the routine, something was brewing. He could feel it in the way the trainer's eyes lingered on him, the smirk that played on his lips whenever he passed. The janitor knew that look, mockery disguised as power. It was only a matter of time before the trainer turned his arrogance into something worse. And on this night, when the crowd was restless and the gym buzzed with energy, the moment came. The janitor wasn't just going to be ignored anymore, he was about to be dragged into a fight he never asked for. Laughter started small, just a few chuckles from the corner of the palms of the fodder of the corner. Jim, as the trainer pointed at the janitor. "Hey, why don't you show us what you've got?" He sneered, tossing a pair of worn-out gloves at his feet. The room filled with restless energy. Fighters leaned against the ropes, coaches smirked, and even the onlookers waiting for their turn joined in. It wasn't an invitation, it was a setup. The janitor froze. His job was to sweep floors, not to fight in cages. But the pressure of 100 eyes bore down on him. Refusing would mean humiliation, giving them more reason to laugh. And yet stepping inside that ring meant risking more than his pride. It meant placing his life in the hands of a man who trained to hurt. The trainer circled him like a predator testing its prey. He wasn't just trying to prove his strength. He was trying to remind everyone of the hierarchy: fighters above janitors, power above dignity. Every feint, every taunt carried the weight of racism wrapped in arrogance. To the trainer, this wasn't a match. It was a spectacle. The janitor slipped the gloves on. His hands shook, not from fear of being hit, but from years of swallowing injustice. Memories flooded back: jobs where he had been overlooked, streets where he had been watched too closely, doors that had been slammed in his face. This moment wasn't new. It was just louder, brighter, and crueler. The bell rang. The trainer lunged forward, fists flashing with speed. The crowd roared with excitement, expecting a swift victory. The janitor stumbled backward, dodging, blocking, trying to survive the storm. Every blow he absorbed fueled their laughter. But behind his guarded stance was something the trainer didn't see: patience. Sweat dripped down his face. His chest heaved, but his eyes never wavered. With each punch he dodged, with each second he stayed standing, the laughter grew uneasy. The trainer pressed harder, determined to end it quickly, but arrogance has a way of blinding even the strongest. The janitor was waiting for the moment to silence them all. The trainer smirked as he lunged forward again, his fists flying with confidence, certain the janitor would crumble any second. The crowd leaned in, waiting for the knockout that seemed inevitable. But then something shifted. The janitor planted his feet firmly, his eyes narrowing with a calm focus that no one had seen before. He wasn't retreating anymore. He was measuring, timing, waiting for the arrogance in front of him to overextend. And then it happened. The trainer swung wide, a punch fueled by ego more than precision. In that split-second opening, the janitor moved fast, sharp, controlled. His fist shot upward, connecting clean with the trainer's jaw. The sound echoed through the gym like a crack of thunder. The trainer's body jolted, his legs buckled, and in front of the stunned crowd, he collapsed flat onto the canvas. Silence swallowed the room. The same people who had laughed seconds earlier stood frozen, Their cheers stuck in their throats. No one moved. No one spoke. All they could do was stare at the janitor, gloves still raised, chest heaving not in triumph, but in quiet defiance. He hadn't come here to fight. He hadn't asked to prove himself. Yet with one punch, he exposed a truth the trainer and everyone else never saw coming. Strength doesn't always wear a title, and dignity can't be erased. In that moment, the janitor wasn't invisible anymore. He was undeniable. The trainer lay motionless on the canvas, his pride shattered in front of the very crowd he once commanded. Whispers rippled through the gym, replacing the laughter that had filled the air minutes earlier. No one had expected this, least of all the people who thought the janitor was nothing more than a background figure. Someone meant to serve, not to shine. The janitor slowly removed his gloves, setting them down with quiet dignity. He didn't raise his fists in celebration. He didn't gloat. He simply stepped over the ropes and walked out, leaving behind stunned silence. For him, this wasn't about victory, it was about survival. About standing against humiliation when he had no choice. But the impact went far beyond that ring. For days the story spread. Whispers turned into headlines, and people who never once looked his way began to see him differently. The knockout became more than a moment of shock, it became a symbol. A reminder that no matter how the world tries to diminish someone because of their race, their job, or their status, true strength doesn't ask for permission to be seen. The crowd that once laughed now carried the memory of a single punch that changed everything. And as the janitor walked away into the night, his steps carried more than the weight of that fight. They carried the weight of justice. Because sometimes, all it takes is one moment, one strike, to remind the world that dignity cannot be mocked and respect must never be denied. The question that remained was simple. How many more will have to fight just to be seen?